My guest today is Danny Kim. How are you today, Danny?
Doing well.
What do you do, Danny, for a living?
For a living,
Yes,
I run a enterprise security, cybersecurity company that I started with my college roommates.
with your college. Did you start it in college?
We started it in college.
Oh, tell me about that.
Yeah, so I went to Cornell University, studied computer science,
Big Red.
and and I probably would have done the typical track, work for a big company at a college, that type of thing. But then I met my roommates in college, which they weren't technology guys. My roommate was one was a political science major, the other was a hotel management major. Um, but we just got along really well, and we had same set of values and principles, and also kind of the goals in life. And so we decided, hey, let's start a company. While we're in school, and it just happens to be because I was in tech. Hey, let's start a security company. Now this is back in, and this is gonna date me a little bit, because I graduated in 1990, so it was back in the 80s. And so the first
Don't
product,
play that game with me about how long ago you graduated.
so our first product was actually running on DOS 2.0,
Cool.
and we
2.0.
2.0, and we created a security product that locked hard drives and files and directories and encrypted it on the
Oh,
fly. So it was actually
ah,
it's a very useful product. Nothing like that existed really at the desktop PC level, right?
yeah.
So yeah, no, we worked on it, and we loved doing it. And so even after we graduated, I got a job out of college, but I was working nights and weekends to keep the company going. And
Right.
within a couple of years, I quit the company I was with, and joined in full time with the startup.
Wow. Are your partners still there? Your college roommates? Are they still involved?
Yes, yeah, the three of us are still together. This is 38 years ago. So
38
uh,
years ago.
we're still running the company today. And we took no, this is very not typical. We didn't take any VC money. We took no investment money, and everything was bootstrapped. So it was all, credit cards and begging and borrowing and whatnot. And we struggled through it, but we're happier for it because we get to run it. It's our own company. We don't answer to anyone else, and we really enjoy the work.
That's very cool. That's part of the so I remember the 1990s, and they were the PC revolution was kind of going on.
Hmm.
That was it was a democratization, right? You didn't have to,
Yes,
you could buy for they were probably $3 or $4,000, but they were a human being could afford them. You didn't have to be a
yes,
large company, so you could
yep,
start a company in your business. That wasn't possible to have a tech company 20 years before.
no,
Just
no.
the money outlay was just too great.
Yeah. No,
Um,
and
but
the timing wise, it was it was right when the PC industry was booming.
right.
People were suddenly they have a computer on their desk, and I remember when the 20 megabyte hard drive came out, people were like, "This is so huge. What are we going to store on this thing? 20 megabytes." And and so for them, it was like all this information was being stored on these personal computers, and again, the need for security even at that stage was starting to come about.
Yeah. So now the company's obviously shifted a few times since then, right? It's been
Hmm.
almost 30 years. What's your focus now?
So we've gone from everything from small to medium sized. So now most of our customers are enterprises, the Walmart, Boeing, Bank of Americas of the world. But more recently, we've turned into government accounts as well. So a lot of our customers are, and where cyber threat becomes more interesting and more necessary is at the government level, because they're state actors that are hacking into each other's systems. And
Hmm.
so we're not working with the CIA, FBI, the Department of Defense. And so there's a lot of stuff I obviously can't expose details on, but it's very interesting work. If there's actually any industry where if you're the typical person that gets bored easily, cybersecurity is probably the place you want to be in, because like I kind of joke, if I take a 2 weeks vacation, I'm actually behind because the
Right.
industry is constantly shifting and moving, right? And as you know, it's technology moves quickly. Cybersecurity moves even faster because we're constantly trying to stay ahead of the threat actors and hackers who are finding different ways of breaking through security systems.
Yeah, absolutely. And I read recently that the U.S. Department of Defense is the most hacked organization. There are more attack attempts on the U.S. DoD than there is any other organization in the
Any
world.
other,
And
exactly.
you know what is
And
in second place?
what?
Is Microsoft. Microsoft is in second
No,
place.
is that right?
Yeah.
That's a that should be a big bragging right, which means no, because that means there's a lot of valuable assets that people want to get
Yeah.
access to, right?
Yeah.
And so you guys impact and touch so many parts of the world in so
I'm
many
sure
different
that's a
ways.
factor. Yeah, that there's
Yeah,
you attack Microsoft, you're not just attacking us, we're attacking everybody else. Just like if you attack the U.S. government, you're not just attacking this organization, you're attacking everything that it touches.
exactly.
Tell me a little about some of the things that you can talk about. What are kind of the threats that you've encountered, and how you've addressed them?
Yep. So our latest product, which is kind of unique, because we've been working with obviously the DoD and other enterprises, and you could probably just read on the news all the publicity and press of companies like AT&T and T and MGM and others getting just hacked into it. And it's not like they didn't have any security systems in place.
Yeah.
They had all the security systems in place, but again, they're finding ways to get through. And to be honest, there's really no way to completely defend against threats because there's this one weak link that will always be present, and that's the end user.
The human
So
beings, yeah.
the human beings, you can't re-engineer the human being. So that unknown factor is always going to be there. And so what we've been helping in the DoD and enterprises is make the assumption that you're already hacked, meaning the hacker's already inside. What do you do when that's already in play? And to be honest, that's actually been more often than not the case. And so when we approach the problem in this way, which is we created a product called Shepherd, and the way we got to this solution was it was almost accidental. My lead architect actually started up two virtual machines on Azure to do some workloads, and he went for lunch and then came back, and then those two virtual machines were attacked, or at least through botware, attacked more than 5,000 times, and initially he was just very upset about it, but then he kind of thought, he said, wait, how did they even know my VMs existed? Because he just
Right.
spun them up. And he didn't think to protect it because he thought there's nothing in there. I'm just doing some workloads. And then he's actually an ex-CIA hacker. So, he kind of put his hacker hat on
Right.
and he said, wait, if I was the hacker, how would I have found it? Well, I would have found it by searching for open ports. And so, and obviously, we know the basic assumption is you need open ports for everything, right? In order to connect to a website, you need port 80 or port 443. If you want to do RDP or whatever, everything, even databases or websites need open ports. Well, because he's a hacker, he thought, wait, is there a way to create a security system that removes the need for an open port? And long story short, David, this is a long presentation, but long story short, we figured out a way without touching the application or changing the server or configuring the server or the application anyway. We actually remove the need for an open port. And so what happens is the software applications, once you install our system, all become invisible to hacking because the hackers can't find it to begin with. And so we deploy this, and I can't even say what agency or anything. Let's just say we deployed it in a very in an agency or environment that was constantly being hacked,
Right.
and they were measuring the before and after. Before they actually measured all up to 10,000 attempted breaches a month. This was their average. Then they deployed our software and removed all the open ports in their system, and their number of breaches went to zero. And
Wow.
so
That's the way they're doing.
yeah, that's spurred on. And what happens is threat actors they're getting into your system. To be honest, I know it's an uncomfortable feeling when I do a lot of board briefings and I tell them, most likely the people that you want to keep out are already inside your system somewhere. They've compromised an end user's account at some place, but they're just sitting there waiting to see if they can elevate their privilege or find critical data that they can exploit. And so the goal is to make it difficult, if not impossible, for them to find the critical assets. So it's kind of like assuming that the thieves are already inside your house. I know it's an uncomfortable feeling in a personal sense, but they're already inside your house roaming around. What you want to do is hide the assets, your jewelry box, your safes, everything that you don't want stolen. So even inside the house, they won't be able to find it. So we're an additive solution on top of the existing cybersecurity mechanisms to make the applications, the data that you have that are critical to your organization very hard to find. So it's a very different way of thinking of cybersecurity.
So hiding the ports is one way, or as you said, removing the ports is one way of
Removing,
hiding
yep.
critical data. What are some other things people could do?
Well, I mean, it's monitoring and tracking. That's kind of the latest trend in the industry is how do you determine and you've got all this analytics based approaches that try to determine what is a typical behavior of a user and what are signature behavior of a hacker. And so you have a lot of these, CrowdStrikes and others who are really good at identifying those behaviors, keying them in, and then in either thwarting them or tracking them. So and this is where I think if you want to jump into AI, has made a huge, I would say initially a very negative impact on cybersecurity because what's happening is these threat actors are using AI
Ah,
to scale their attack vectors and scale their attack mechanisms. What we're doing now is the cybersecurity companies that are defending are starting to use AI to scale the defense of that. And part of the AI usage is identifying behavior that and learning the behavior and identifying behavior that a hacker would do typically inside the organization, and then throwing them off.
okay, so learning identify, and I think also AI can increase the speed at which you can detect these patterns you're talking about. You talk
Yes.
about behavior. The behavior might span months, right? You
Yes.
mentioned earlier they
Oh,
could be sitting there
definitely.
waiting, hack into a one user system, and not do
Yeah,
anything until months later. That's
exactly.
hard to.
And
That's a hard pattern
what
to detect.
administrator has the ability to span behavior over months at a time? AI can do that, right? It can look for patterns and opportunities over time. And you're right, David. One thing you point out that not many people realize is the average amount of time a hacker stays inside your network before they do the ransomware or before they or siphon the data off is 3 to 4 months.
Wow,
So
I didn't
they're
realize. I knew
literally
that
sitting
happened,
in
but
your
that's
network.
common.
Yeah, there's literally sitting in your network, and it will take them time to figure out, okay, where's the data sets? How can I elevate privileges? How can I access these other systems? And so again, this is where AI comes in. I think it would be very beneficial for AI to start tracking it. The unfortunate part is the AI is being used by hackers to scale their attack vectors, and I think they were ahead to some degree in the start, and I think we're playing catch up with them now as a
Isn't that
result.
always the case, though, that there's sort of a game of leapfrog?
Yes,
Even before AI, they would figure out a way of attacking. We would come up with a defense. Like viruses, for example.
right,
Viruses would get
exactly.
invented. Antivirus was catching up.
Yeah.
They're always a little bit behind.
Well, this is why it's such a fascinating field. This is why I'm so interested in it. You know, I wouldn't say I have ADHD, but I'm definitely someone who needs a stimulus and new things to look at. Cybersecurity is something I mean, you need the base foundational knowledge, obviously, right? So you have that foundational knowledge, but you're constantly thinking of new ways of both defense and tracking what new ways of attacking attacks that are coming in as well. And then just working with different customers, DoD and the government are one set of customers, but we have small, medium-sized businesses that have the same problems as well. And for a small, medium-sized business, if someone brings down your whole, order transaction system, you can put them out of business. They have no
Sure,
cushion
sure.
to defend against that. And so, it's actually I heard that the number from industries, not companies, but the number three most attacked industry is education.
Really? Why
Which
is that?
the reason why is anything that has data that is regulated
Okay.
requires obviously finance and healthcare have regulated identities and data sets, but so does education. Children's identities and data is regulated, meaning if you lose that, you could be liable for damages and whatnot. And hackers know this, but also what they do is they go for the low hanging fruit. Hackers are, I think, inherently lazy, meaning they want to go after the low hanging fruit that's easy. So,
Okay.
is it what's easier to break into a bank and try to get access to their data sets, or break into a school that is not cybersecurity aware, has very low cybersecurity resilience, but
Mm.
has data, children's data that is regulated, that has to be protected. So what they do is they can break in easily, grab a lot all this data set that's critical and regulated, and then hold them for ransom, and then the schools have to pay it. And
Oh my
so,
gosh.
I volunteer and work at a local school, high school as well. And I just recently, a couple months ago, one of our sister schools was hacked, and they literally took all of the student information system data, encrypted it, stored it off, and they literally said, "You're not going to get this back unless you pay us $500,000." And then the next day, the school paid the money. I mean, it's just,
Oh,
and so, hackers know this is easy money, and so it becomes an easy target. And so, it's unfortunate, but it's the most vulnerable people and organizations that are being hacked these days.
um, absolutely. This is an analogy that goes beyond cybercrime that I've always talked about. Criminal. I live in a big city. I live downtown in a big city, and criminals. There's crime in every big city. Uh, where do criminals operate? They operate in areas that are dark and away from the public.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
so smart people just avoid those areas at night because criminals are lazy. They don't want to go and fight in front of the police station where they might get caught. They want to go in the low risk areas, in the back alleys where you happen to wander through there. And,
Yep.
uh,
Yep.
same thing here. Why work for your money when there are easy targets out there?
So I think
You
our
mentioned,
end goal,
go
yeah, yeah, no,
go
and
ahead.
I was going to kind of transition into the why I'm so passionate about education is because
Yeah, you have a
what
nonprofit that you run.
yes, yes. And one of the things, inspire the kids to learn. But one of the areas that I'm excited about is we're now teaching middle school and high school kids cybersecurity skill sets,
Yeah,
because
through Quest.
to Quest. So one of the things that again, I started as a parent volunteer. Now my business partners are kind of like, Danny, we need more of your time. But again, they know it's something of a passion for me. But again, if you can inspire kids at the younger ages, whether it's through, we launch experiments to space, we do our robotics platform, but now we teach cybersecurity, and so many kids have come up to me even after a 2-day workshop, and they say, "Mr. Kim, I have now decided, I've discovered I love cybersecurity. I'm now going to go into cybersecurity as a career." And that
Outstanding.
just blows my mind. But again, I think it's because we haven't exposed our younger generation to the possibilities of what's out there. And so cybersecurity to a lot of folks is a myth, or not a myth. It's a mystery, right? Because they
Sure.
think, oh, only the deepest hackers can go into cybersecurity, and that's not the case. Actually, if you have good communication skills, they need jobs. They need communicators in the cybersecurity space. Some of the best CISOs I've seen in major companies have come up through management or business tracks. They're good
Hmm.
salespeople, or they're good managers, and they need that type of skill set in the cybersecurity space. So again, there's a brevity of opportunity that even our kids don't realize, and even adults. When I talk to the professional adult market, they don't realize how many different pathways to cybersecurity there is.
Sure. It's virtually recession proof because there's always bad guys out there.
Yes. Actually, I joke that there's two professions that will never ever diminish. One is
Okay.
medicine, because everybody's going to get sick and die, and the other one is cybersecurity, because as we continue to get connected, you're always going to get hacked, and you're going to need defenders to defend you.
All right. So kids, when you're choosing your major, think about that. Uh, and so now, Quest. Tell me a little bit more about Quest. You're an educational. You're working with kids. Are you working through schools? Or are you working independently? I know you were in Chicago last week, even though you live in California for an educational event for high school and middle school students. Is that a typical
Yes.
thing, or what else do you do?
No, actually, we started out, Quest started out as kind of a San Jose based a STEM program to bring STEM programs to California, and then the interest started blossoming because we created a very unique program that allows students to upload experiments to the International Space Station. And that
Oh wow,
mechanism doesn't exist anywhere. It's something we
wow,
created in partnership with NASA. And so we have a permanent unit, experiment unit up on the International Space Station that allow
wow.
kids to do programming of robots up there, do science experiments, all through an internet connection to the ISS. And so we have the capacity to do 8 million experiments. And then we have an underwater research facility at the bottom of the ocean, 20 miles off the coast of Monterey. Yeah, so we've been able to invest it. And this is kind of, uh, this all came about because I would recruit entrepreneurs and engineers from industry to create these innovations. And we've literally transformed the way you can do education and inspiration of the kids. And so as we did this, and then we then branched out into cybersecurity, we were getting interest from schools all over the world. I now travel to Asia, to Dubai, to Switzerland, to Seoul, to Malaysia, delivering these programs. And so instead of now doing it as a one-off, just in the local area, we're now delivering it to schools all over the world. But then what we came upon as a way to even scale this even better, and this is where the partnership with Microsoft comes in, and we're really so appreciative of this, is Microsoft, along with one of your employees, Lori Kim, who's just a
Yep,
phenomenal organizer.
she's terrific.
She she created this partnership where we come in. Microsoft allows us to use their offices. They raise funds to bus kids in from the local Chicago area, and we get to spend a day with them and inspire them of what's possible, and really give them this hands-on education. They're launching experiments of space within a day. They're building a robot and competing, and they're learning how to hack at least the first level of hacking into each other's computers through cybersecurity. These are all things that inspires the kids to want to continue on and learn other things in STEM. So we're very hopeful and excited about this opportunity because I just came off of a Give campaign call with a bunch of Microsoft employees, and they're like, where can we bring this? I want to bring this program to my Microsoft office local to my city. And so it gives us another platform where we can engage more students in the local area.
Sounds like your partners are going to be missing you again in the near future.
They love
Well, this
it.
is
They
awesome.
know it's yeah.
It's for
They
a
know
good cause.
it's something that's yeah, it's for a good cause.
All right, is there anything we haven't covered you feel that you really want to get out?
Um, no, I think and one of the things that I do want to make it clear as well, and this is really the what's in my heart is I love engaging the kids, and you could tell from the excitement level. I get excited about cybersecurity too, but the education when you see the kids impacting their lives being impacted, and I can see this in even in a 1 day program, literally, their whole trajectory of what they think is possible changes in that 1 day. But where the biggest difference I see is when we do this type of program to underserved communities.
Yeah,
And that's where my passion is because they usually get the leftovers, to be honest, in both in education and everything else. But when you bring in a program like this, where they're launching experiments in space, they're building robots that they built themselves, and competing, they're learning cybersecurity concepts and hacking. Suddenly their self-confidence goes up and they feel like, wait, I can do this. I could, I'm not an idiot. I'm not handicapped. I'm not, regulated to stay in poverty. When I see that change happening, that's what really jazzes me up. So I love, partnering with, I know with Microsoft and others, they're bringing this opportunity not just for the highest performing kids, but we get to bring in kids that can't afford this. And that's where I feel that the partnership has been the best is we get to be in front of kids that would have never experienced this type of education before, and the difference that it makes in their lives is tremendous. So
Well,
thank you, Microsoft and other partners that allow us to
you're
do this.
welcome.
And I think this is what this is what drives me, because there really needs to be this type of innovative, critical thinking type of education to all, democratized to all students.
And thank you, Danny, for sharing your knowledge and your passion with us today.
You're welcome. If you want to be an entrepreneur, the best way to start a company is to find good friends that share your passion, vision, and your principles, and create technology and products and businesses together. That's the key to a successful, long running company.